Hello everyone, welcome and thanks for joining us today, and welcome once again to this presentation entitled Taking Your Forex Trading to the Next Level. Now, even though we're going to be focusing on Forex trading, this educational presentation is going to show you techniques, methods, and strategies that can virtually be applied to any market, any time frame, in any direction. Now, I'd like you to take a brief moment to view this chart here. As we look at this chart in the dollar yen, we see here that someone just looking at this, the way most people are trained and the most way people trade is by looking at the trend, and someone looking at this would say, well, this is in a downtrend, so I guess we should sell this, right? I know we're always trying to look for bottoms, but this looks pretty strongly like it's going to the downside. Well, I'm going to be sharing with you a technique and a strategy that actually generated a buy signal right here at the bottom of this downtrend. And as you can see, you potentially would have been able to capture about 250 pips in 3 weeks. The beautiful thing about this strategy, not only being able to be applied in all markets and time frames, is that it also generates signals along the way. So if you had missed that initial buy entry, well, there was another one generated just about a week or two later. Now, this technique I'm going to be sharing with you not only works to the upside, it works to the downside as well. Someone looking at this would say, well, Steve, it's obvious that we have major support here and that we're going to be starting to go back up because this is a bottom. It hit some major Fibonacci support lines, and everyone is buying it here, and everyone's touting the Canadian dollar. So I guess I'm going to buy it too. Well, this strategy I'm going to be talking about actually generated two sell signals right here, and as you can see, in the next month it went down 600 pips. Now, here's the beautiful thing about what I'm sharing with you right now. You'll know the complete rules to this strategy on Friday, but under one condition: if you become a member of my new Elite Forex Trading College. So welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo. I'm president and founder of Specialist Trading. I'm excited to announce that our new college, which we do one about every year, is starting on Friday. Now, class is almost filled, and we're starting this because we have enough members now, and everyone is itching and ready to learn the strategies and techniques that are going to be offered. In fact, one of them is what I just showed you. You would have been able to capture those signals simply by knowing the rules, okay? So I'm going to be sharing that with you today and show you what is exactly involved with joining our new Forex College. And once again, it starts this Friday. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the sidelines or if you're on the fence, now is the time to do it. So I'm going to show you what's going to be offered in our first week of live classes, which start Friday. But before we begin, I ask that you please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this particular strategy, as well as other strategies that are included in the college. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. So as I stated earlier, we are required by law to share this disclaimer with you. So as you're taking a brief moment, I would also like to take this time to invite you to follow us on Twitter. As you can see, here is our handle right here at SBCLSTTRADG. I post something different on a daily basis, anywhere from signals that our strategies have generated. In fact, if you go look right now, excuse me, you'll see that we had some great signals that were generated in just the last few days on a few equities. We also generate signals for Forex markets, for currency pairs, as well as futures, but there's lots of great free information to follow us on Twitter, okay? So with that said, once again, as I've stated in the beginning of this presentation, and I state over and over again, and as you'll see, hopefully if you become a member of our college, we are all about educating you. As you can see here, my goal is not to force feed you signals the way so many other webinars do, where they tell you we have the perfect signals for the euro dollar, we have the perfect signals for Apple on a nightly basis. We don't believe in that. We don't feel that that's really productive. In fact, we feel it's counterproductive to teaching you how to trade, because you will turn a signal service into some type of a crutch. You won't really learn or understand or have any type of part of the process under your belt. What you'll simply be doing is taking orders. And we feel that that is basically a recipe for disaster. So as you can see here, our goal is not to force feed you signals. It's not to simply have you become a robot and you mimic whatever signals are we're generating. Our goal is to teach you how to spot, how to identify, and then ultimately how to trade based off your own decisions. This is the specialist edge that I was taught some 40 years ago, and I believe this is what has allowed me to continue trading for 4 decades now. And so my goal is to teach you the same things that have sustained me, and hopefully they'll be able to make you a trader that's trading 10, 20, 30, even 40 years down the road. Okay, this is what we plan to do in our college, which starts Friday. And let me share with you exactly what you'll be learning, because my mentors taught me specific things about success and about becoming a consistent trader. Here's one of the things they shared with me. They said, Steve, the secret to trading success is to never buy below the 50-period simple moving average and to never sell above the 50-period moving average. That's it. Now, when they said success, they meant consistency, because they know that nothing is 100% foolproof. Nothing works 100% of the time. So as traders, we know that going in. So we're not trying to think that we can be right 100% of the time. We're just trying to capture an edge. We're just trying to capture consistency. So when we say the secret to trading success, we really mean the secret to consistency. Never buy below the 50-period moving average. Never sell above the 50-period moving average. It really is that simple. In fact, go back and look at any chart you want. I don't care if it's a currency pair chart. It could also be a stock chart. It could be a 15-minute E-mini chart. It makes no difference. Just simply add a 50-period moving average, and you'll see when price is below, many times it continues to stay below, and it would not be in your best interest to be buying. If price is above, many times it continues to stay above. And so it would not be in the best interest for you to be a consistent trader if you sold. So you want to be in sync with that overall trend. Now, since we're talking about the Forex College, let's show you some examples. Here's a picture of the euro dollar going back to May. Now, right there we have 4 bars, daily bars that are circled. Why would we circle those bars? Well, those were 4 consecutive bars that closed above the 50-period moving average. You can see that kind of greenish line right there. So right there in late April, early May, we knew that the market was telling us, not some guy in a chat room, not some convoluted indicator, or not something based off news events or the full moon. It makes no difference. It's just the market telling us that most likely it's going to go higher. So right then, you would know that you should only be looking at the euro dollar as something that you want to buy. Now, this is not a strategy I'm sharing with you right now. This is simply one of the most important fundamental things that we teach in the college. So let's look and see what happened to the euro dollar coming into the spring and the summer. It would have given you 1,100 pips to the upside to work with. Now, we're not saying that you would have bought it there once again, but that's how much potential you had to capture by applying some structure, some type of strategy or method, which once again is what we teach, okay? Just by using this simple rule. Let's look at the Canadian dollar. Now we have a total of 4 bars that are circled here in red. Why would we do that? Well, those are the first 4 consecutive bars that closed below the daily 50-period simple moving average. Now we're looking at daily bars here, but it makes no difference what time frame. You always want to have a 50-period moving average applied, so it will tell you what the market wants to do. So once we had 4 closes below, what's the market telling us? It's telling us it wants to go lower. So if it wants to go lower, would you want to buy anything? Absolutely not. You want to be a seller. And the Canadian dollar went down 1,400 pips after that. You see how simple trading can be? We just make it more complicated than it has to by looking at fundamental news, by looking at all the support and resistance and all the, what all the institutions are doing. It's silly. I don't look at those things. I stopped looking at those things 40 years ago, and I'm still here. So obviously, there's no real consistency in them. My mentors taught me to listen to only one thing. That's the chart in front of you, and this is what we'll be teaching you how to do in our college. Now, we've looked at daily charts so far. Let's look at an hour chart of the Australian dollar. Here we have a total of 5 bars that have closed above the 50-period moving average line you see there in green. Now, this is on an hourly time frame. And look what happened. We went up 100 pips in the next couple of days, okay? So this is one of the foundations of our trading. We will always apply a 50-period simple moving average. Now, another thing that my mentors taught me was that they said, well, Steve, once you know what side of the market to be on, whether it wants to go up or whether it wants to go down, then develop a methodology and then stick with it. Don't change methodologies or trading plans from day to day. Now, I know this is a common trap for most traders, especially beginning traders, because you'll get excited about one thing you're trading, and it'll work great for a day or two, maybe even a week or a month, and then the minute it stops working, you start looking for the next best thing, right? I don't say you didn't do that, because I know a lot of you do. I know I've done that in the past, and that's not the correct way to trade, because you're basically spinning your wheels. The reason why most traders do that is because they're afraid of this inconsistency that they see. All of a sudden, nothing works in their trading method. So you want something that's consistent. This is what we're going to be teaching in the college, consistent trading methods. In fact, we're starting out with our first strategy, which is strategy number 1. Let me share some of the highlights of this particular strategy. Now, even though we're going to be focusing on currency pairs, remember, everything can be applied to any market and any time frame. So it doesn't matter if you join the college and you trade currency pairs, but you also like to trade stocks, or you also like to trade futures or commodities. Every strategy and method can easily be transferred over. So some of the highlights of this. This is for virtually all traders, from beginners to advanced. So it makes no difference if you're a hedge fund trader. It makes no difference if you just started trading 2 weeks ago. This particular method is designed to trade pullbacks within the trend. So if you're not familiar with that, let's say you have an uptrend established. Well, we're not going to buy high and then continue to buy higher. What we're going to do is wait for a sell-off in that trend. This is where most people would think that the trend's over, like we're rolling over and they're going to go much lower. But according to our requirements and requisites, it's just telling us that we're selling off, we're resting, we're pulling back to a level, and that's where we want to buy, because 9 times out of 10, the trend will resume upwards. Now, its intensity level, if 1 is the most intense of all strategies, where you basically can't even take your eyes off the computer, and 3 is the most relaxed, it's a 3. It's a very basic. You will know exactly where to enter your order. You'll know exactly where to exit. You'll know exactly where to place your stop, okay, prior to entry. Now, it's based off proprietary indicator setting, which we share with you, and you'll get all the rules in the course. This can be applied to any time frame, any direction, and any market. Now, members of the college will receive educational buy and sell indications. This means that on your chart, you will get automatic green arrows for a buy signal and automatic red arrows for a sell signal. But remember, as you can see here, these are educational. Basically, we're giving you the answers. Do you remember in junior high when they used to say it's an open book test, where you had the answer while you were taking the test, or they were in the back of the book? Well, it's the same with this, because we know what the answer is in terms of if it's a valid buy or sell signal, but we want you to use those to learn, to check your work. So if you see a setup and you think it's valid, simply click on the tab that tells you that the arrows should appear, and you'll check your work to see if you're in line. Now, ultimately, this is for educational purposes so that you know what to look for, but ultimately and eventually we want you not even to apply them. I don't even use them after applying them for years and years, and most of our students use them for weeks or months and then know exactly when a signal has been generated. Our edge in the college and with everything we teach and trade is consistency, meaning we know that we will have small losses from time to time. That's perfectly okay. It's about 2 steps forward, 1 step back. When you have a consistent method, you know that consistency simply means 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The 1 step back meaning you have a small loss. With a consistent method, you're able to many times recoup that loss in just a matter of a few trades. Okay? So let me show you some examples using strategy number 1. I can't give you the whole rules. I've just given you one of the major rules to it, though, using the 50-period simple moving average. Okay. All right. So remember, we shared with you this chart in the euro dollar where it went up 1,100 pips. Now, as we look, strategy 1 saw that there was a sell-off right here, and where most people would have thought, boy, we've really gone up a lot, but we're going to roll over. Strategy number 1 generated 2 buy signals, 1 here and 1 here, and you could have taken advantage of the nice move to the upside. Now, the beauty of all of our strategies is that if all the requirements are still in play, you will still see that strategies signals will be generated. As you can see here, later on in August in the summer, another signal was generated on this sell-off. Now, at this time, I mean, we've gone up 1,100 pips. Most people would say, well, it's time for this to roll over. This is probably really going to be a big sell-off coming down to these levels. Well, another buy signal was generated, and the chart doesn't show it, it doesn't reflect it, but the euro dollar went up another 300 pips after that. All right, let's look at the Canadian dollar. Remember, we had 1,400 pips to work with. Well, how do we work with it? Well, we add some structure, in this case, in the form of strategy number one. Strategy number one generated a sell signal right here. It just used the chart here and generated a valid signal, but based off of a shallow pullback. In other words, we only needed 3 bars to the upside to generate that, and then look what happened after that. Now at this point, we've really gone down about 1,000 pips. Most people would think, well, listen, we've bottomed out. That's basic, solid foundation there. We have to have some support. All of the the institutions have come in, and look, we're starting to bounce. So we've got to buy this, right? Well, not really, because a sell signal was generated once again, and look what happened after that. Now we can go to a different time frame, a totally different market. Here's an hourly chart of the Australian dollar we looked at before. Remember, we had a nice 100 pips to work with because we were above the 50-period moving average. Well, we're looking for a pullback, and at this point right here, strategy number one generated a buy signal. And so you could have taken advantage from buying right here to the nice upward move ever since you got long. So that's what we're going to be teaching. In fact, you will know all of the rules to that particular strategy in just about 2 or 3 days once you become a member of the Forex College. So I'll give you a link and share with you your last chance to become a member, because live classes with me and many other students will start live online this Friday, just about this time. Now let's go on to the next strategy that we'll be teaching later on in the college. This is strategy number 4. This by far is our most consistent strategy. It is because it can easily transfer over into any market and time frame, and it generates the most signals out of any strategy we have. Okay, so consistency, meaning 2 step forward, 1 step back. It is our most consistent strategy to date. We will be teaching that the following week. Now it's based off of a specific pattern which we teach you. Once again, we supply you with the add-on that automatically generates the up and down arrows for educational purposes only. After a while, after you learn to study this pattern recognition strategy, you'll know exactly when a signal has been generated without the use of the educational up and down signals. Let's look at some examples here. Here's a chart in the British pound. As you can see, we're above the 50-period moving average. Even though we had one close below, that's not enough for us to say that it's going lower. And a valid buy signal was generated right here. And this was in July, 300 pips to the upside in just 3 weeks on a strategy number 4 buy signal. Now we can use this on the euro dollar and a daily bar as well. As you can see, we have a very strong trend in play. We're above the 50-period moving average. There's no real pullbacks here. So strategy number 1 doesn't work well in these markets. This is why we offer you different strategies, because markets have different environments, different personalities. Some strategies work great with certain markets. Others work better. Now in this case, strategy number 1 can't be applied because there's no real pullbacks on a daily time frame. The beauty of strategy 4 is it generated 2 buy signals where no other strategy generated any. So that was almost 500 pips in 1 month to the upside, well before the euro dollar took off. Now here's a daily chart of the euro dollar that is more recent. This was at the end of October coming into this week in November. As you can see here, we have a downtrend in play. The beauty of strategy 4 is that it caught the height of that nice little bounce as a sell signal. So you could have taken advantage of this 250 pip move to the downside coming into this week. Now another advantage is that strategy 4 can be applied to any time frame. Here is a weekly chart of the dollar yen. Okay, as you can see here, we're above the 50-period moving average. According to the pattern which we teach you what to look for, it generated a buy signal and nearly 300 pips in just the next 2 weeks on a weekly time frame. Remember, our strategies can be applied to monthly bars. They can be applied to tick charts. They can be applied to range bars. It makes no difference. It's entirely up to you how you want to apply them. Remember, we're not in the business of telling you how to trade it. A lot of our students always email us and say, Steve, God, I love this. What would you suggest is the best time frame to trade? And my answer is always the same. It's the best time frame is the one that makes you feel the most comfortable. There are no right or wrong answers with what we teach once you understand the process. Once you understand the process, you're in charge. Remember, my goal is not to trade for you. My goal is to pass this information that I've accumulated in 4 decades, mentor with you and work with you so that you can make your own trading decisions. So if you come to the college thinking that I'm going to tell you what to buy and sell on a nightly basis, you're coming from the wrong mindset. We're educating you because we're an educational company. We work and mentor with you. But in the end, our goal is to have you self-sufficient. We want you making your own trading decisions because, as I stated, in my 40 years of trading, the only traders I have found to be consistent are the ones who make their own trading decisions, not the ones who rely on someone or something else to tell them what to do. So that's my goal, to have you become self-sufficient so that you don't have to rely on anyone or anything. You know when a signal has been generated and you can act accordingly. Now, here's an hourly chart of the dollar yen. As you can see, initially we're below the 50. So what's the market telling us? It's telling us it wants to go lower. Once we cross above, it's telling us it wants to go higher. So at this point, we're short. And guess what? Strategy 4 generated 2 sell signals. On an hourly time frame, in just about a day or so, you could have made 60 pips to the downside. Once we crossed over, you simply switch gears, apply the same rules, but now for buy setups, and you had a couple there that could have generated 40 pips. So roughly in about 2 or 3 days, that's 100 pips for intraday trading the dollar yen. Now, another thing my mentors taught me is they said, Steve, you don't need to be a weatherman to see which way the wind is blowing. In other words, the market's always telling you what it wants to do. You don't need an indicator. You don't need a news event. You don't need an announcement of some earnings or jobless claims or something to tell you what the market wants to do. The market usually tells you in advance of these things. Strategy number 5 is great for trading with the trend. It is a strategy that's based off of candlesticks. It's a strategy that I first started using some 30 years ago and is great for candlestick traders, we feel, because it trades in sync with the trend, counter to the way most traders trade, where they trade candlesticks out of sync with the trend. Let's show you some examples of strategy number 5. As you can see here, according to our proprietary techniques and methods, even though it looks like we're going sideways, our proprietary techniques tell us that the trend is up. So strategy 5 generated a buy signal, and it was 600 pips to the upside. And if you missed that, once again, as you can see, the trend has already started to go up. Not to worry, because strategy 5 oftentimes will continue to generate signals all the way up. As you can see, more were even generated. How about the Australian dollar? Okay, this was just last month and a half ago. Australian dollar was going lower, or more people say, well, I've always been taught it's going lower. I'm looking for a bottom, right, for a reversal pattern. Not the way we teach it. We teach if the trend is going lower, you want to be a seller. Strategy number 5 generated a sell signal, and it was 200 pips in the next couple of weeks to the downside, coming into roughly about a month ago. And the beauty of strategy 5 is if the trend is strong enough, you will see a lot more signals being generated along the way. So many of our students like to add on to the positions, or others, if they miss the first one, they'll catch the second or third one. Here's a 4-hour chart of the euro dollar, just last September, okay? Now, the trend is up. We have a buy signal generated, and it was 150 pips in the next day in the euro dollar. This is a 4-hour chart. We know a lot of currency pair traders like to trade 4-hour charts. All of our methods work great in any market, in any time frame. Lastly, the trend will give you direction on your path. So I'm sure you found out by now there's a common theme with everything we teach and trade here. It's that we are trend traders. We will never try to trade against the trend. And everyone knows that. We're all taught that. It's trading 101. And so if everyone knows that, why do 80% of all traders fail? I think one of the main reasons is because everyone has a different idea of what the trend is. You go to some webinars and they say, well, you have to look at this specific indicator I have that tells you what the trend is. Or someone says, oh no, you have to look at the higher time frame to find out what the lower time frame is doing. And still others say, no, you have to look for a specific pattern. Okay, those are all well and good. They have certain levels of telling you what the trend is. But in my opinion, I have never found anything better than what I'm about to talk about right now. This is an example of the British pound. As you can see, we're in a downtrend. And the way most traders would trend trade is say, well, we're in a downtrend, so okay, I want to trade with a trend, so I'll start to sell here. And then look what happens. Does that look familiar to anyone? Okay. Usually when people try to get into a trend, the techniques or methods they're taught are what we call a day late and dollar short. What if there was something that could tell us that the trend was starting to go down up here, and at these levels would tell us that it's starting to turn and go up? Well, there is. It's called the PET D. Now, I first learned this 40 years ago, but I developed this into a color bar tool with Proprietary strategy so that you don't have to calculate anything, you don't have to do anything. It's a proprietary directional tool where all you have to do is look at the color. I've taken all the hard work out of it for you by developing it with Proprietary strategies. So all you need to know now is that green bars mean that you're in an uptrend and red bars mean that you're in a downtrend. This is a short-term trend identifier. So when you accompany this with the overall trend, meaning the 50-period simple moving average, you really have increased your odds for consistency. It's such an important tool that we devote one entire week to showing you all the different ways to apply the PET D. Okay, so it's a roadmap for virtually any market, any direction, and any time frame. And it's a proprietary color bar algorithm. We keep the rules and the formula in-house because what we really want to share with you is the secret to the PET D is not the formula, it's not what it's based off of, it's based off momentum, but it's not the formula that you have to calculate. That's not the secret. The secret is in knowing how to apply it correctly. And guess what? Once you become a member of our Forex College, you'll have someone teach you and mentor you how to use it correctly that's been using it for 40 years now. So let's go back to this example in the British pound. How could we have known in advance that we were in a downtrend, and how could we have known in advance that we were going up? Well, you simply click on the PET D tool, and as you can see, once we had 2 to 5 bars in red, we knew that we're going lower. And once we had 2 to 5 bars in green, well, we know we're going higher. So the beauty, as you see here in the PET D, is that it tells you which direction you should be trading for the short term, okay? And once you know the trend, you can virtually apply any strategy, any method, any technique. It can be one of the ones I teach you in the course in the college, or it can be one of your own. And you can apply it to that direction. You will increase your odds for consistency. Let's look at here an example in the euro dollar. Once again, we're just only looking at 6 bars. Now someone would say, Steve, how in the world can you know what the trend is just by looking at 6 bars? That's easy with the PET D. Remember, the PET D is different from the 50-period simple moving average in that it is a short-term trend identifier. It often tells you well in advance of other trending tools. Once we add that, we see that the first 4 bars were red, meaning that we had been in a downtrend. But look what we have here. We have 2 green bars. That is a signal telling us from the market. The market is being translated by the PET D. It's telling us that it wants to go higher, okay, on the short term. Just off these 2 bars here that are colored green, and look what happened. We went 650 pips to the upside. And even when we had down days, we had 3 down days here, what were the colors of the bars? They were still being colored green. So that's the market telling you not to get worried and think that we're topping out, because the bars are still a background of a dark green. So that means we're still in an uptrend, a short-term uptrend. Don't get caught in the fact that someone may be saying, well, this is so overbought, you have to sell this, and this is where all the institutions are selling. Don't listen to those outside sources. Only listen to one thing, the market in front of you. Here's another chart here in the Canadian dollar. Okay, now we've circled, or we've seen here, we've applied the PET D, and we've known since well back in advance, right up here, that we're in a downtrend. Now we continue to keep all the bars red, so that we know we're going to be looking for some strategy, some method, some technique to go short. If, at the very least, we know we're not going to buy. We will never buy in a downward trend. And it's a good thing we didn't, because look what happened to the Canadian dollar. It went down 800 pips. Remember, once you see the red bars, you can apply any method to that direction, meaning down. And this is the beauty. Once again, we had 3 up days. But what is the outline of these bars? They're red. So even though the market is starting to bounce, the outline of the bar was red, telling you, don't get fooled. This is not the beginning of an uptrend. This is basically a short-term bounce in an overall downtrend. So you could have taken advantage of that, gone short, and taken advantage of the sell-off. It's simple once you know how to listen to the market. That's what the PET D does for you. It's a translator. It's not an indicator. It doesn't tell you how high or how low something will go. It simply translates what the market wants to do and then tells you on a tick-by-tick basis. All right, let's look at this 15-minute chart of the euro dollar, and I believe this was taken just a couple of months ago. As we can see here on a 15-minute time frame, we're kind of going up higher, but are we going to roll over, or is this kind of just going in a sideways market? Well, let's apply the PET D. Well, we've had consistent green bars since here, this level here, so this is telling us we should apply some type of technique, a method, or a strategy to the long side. We don't want to go against the short-term trend. And 60 pips in the next 3 to 4 hours, just day trading the euro dollar. Now, another thing my mentors taught me is they said, Steve, in order to learn how to trade, you must first want to be taught. I can't tell you how many students I have. We have students in over 115 countries in every state in the United States. But how many times I'll get a student and they'll say, well, Steve, that's not the way I'm taught. We have to look for, what the market's going to be doing in the news, or I need to buy, bottoms and sell tops. And I'm saying, listen, this is not what we teach. In order to learn our methods, you have to let go of those things and say, listen, this is what we're teaching you. This is what has worked for me for 40 years. Hopefully it can work for you. So that's the beauty of what we're offering in just 48 hours. Here's our Elite Forex Trading College. Remember, it starts in 48 hours, in 2 days, exactly at this time, and come Friday, you'll learn all of the rules to that very first strategy, strategy number 1. Let me share with you the curriculum. Now, in week 1, that's a video that we give to all of our members so that they can understand the foundation and the building blocks of Forex trading. We realize that our kind of teaching is a little bit different. Remember, we don't try to pick tops and bottoms. We don't have chat rooms or trading rooms. We don't believe in that. We're just simply trying to teach you as your educator. So we go over our philosophy and our concepts. Everything is all put in one 2-hour video for week 1 for you to absorb. In week 2, which is actually beginning Friday, we go over the strategy we first talked about, strategy number 1. It's our premier pullback strategy that looks for sell-offs in an uptrend to buy, and it looks for bounces in an overall downtrend to sell. The following week, we'll go over our more consistent strategy, which is strategy number 4. This is the strategy that's based off pattern recognition, simple pattern that you have to look for. Once all the requirements are met, you can either buy or sell. And then our last strategy that we teach you is Forex strategy number 5, based off of candlesticks and trading them entirely different from what you've been taught before. So we're going to be sharing with you all the complete rules to all of these strategies, and we also give you the up and down educational signals so that you know what to look for, okay? Week 5, we spend the entire week talking about the PET D, all right, or that class. We're going to go over all the different applications, ways in which to use it, the simplest ways. We talk about different ways in which you can apply it as a technique, stop placement, lots of ways to apply the PET D so that you know how to experiment with it. And then in our final live class, week 6, we talk about something I learned on the floor some 40 years ago that I use in my trading on a daily basis. It's advanced trade management. This is another formula that you need to know how to apply. In fact, this is so important and so powerful. We only have the rules and teach you how to have advanced trade management in our colleges. We don't have a separate course for this. I don't talk about this in the webinars because it's that important. So we only reserve it for college members, okay? And then we're also going to spend the last portion of that class putting it all together. We're going to take any last questions you may have. We're going to go over any examples that you may want me to cover, but that's our last live class. But remember, once you're a student of mine, it just doesn't end at the end of the live classes. You'll always be able to correspond with me via email. Sometimes if I'm free enough, I can even give you a phone call, but most of the time we correspond during email sessions, and you'll be able to correspond with me as long as you like, for as long as I'm trading. So I've been trading 40 years. I don't plan on stopping now. Hopefully we can go another 40 years together. Now, these strategies, as you just seen, work great with currency pairs, but as I stated earlier, they can also be applied to stocks, ETFs, futures, and commodities. So if you're the type of trader that likes to trade multiple markets, it's not as if you have to buy a completely different course now and say, well, gosh, what do I trade now with the stocks? Do I have to go and get involved in another college? No, you can easily transfer these onto those different markets and different time frames. Now, for example, here's an example in FDX. A strategy number 4 signal was generated based off the pattern, and look what happened. 12 quick points to the upside in the next week. Here's a strategy number 5 sell signal. In fact, 2 sell signals, one here, and this was an XEC, 18 points to the downside, okay? We can also apply it to trading the Bitcoin. Now, this is a really emerging market here. A lot of people, a lot of interest. I recently spoke last week at the Traders Expo in Las Vegas, and there were a lot of students coming up to me and asking me, can my methods and techniques be applied to the Bitcoin? I said, sure, easily. Anywhere where they meet our requirements of a trend and they meet our patterns and different simple rules, you'll get signals that are generated. So as you can see here, I believe these are strategy number 5 buy signals all along the way in the Bitcoin. So if you're interested in trading that, the strategies can be applied there as well. Now, if you go to my website or my sister site, Proprietary Strategies, you'll see tons of testimonials from people that have taken our past colleges, from people that were just people that had started trading, students that started trading, to actual hedge fund managers, as you can see here. So there's lots of testimonials. Go and read them if you like. But remember, the class starts in just 2 days. You can't really sit and wait. So let's recap before we show you our special offer. As my mentors taught me, successful trading should be non-subjective. So these are the things we cover in our first week, which is on the video, meaning that 2 traders should look at the same chart and come up with the same analysis. How many times have you talked to a friend, or if you had an idea and you've gone to a webinar and someone says the exact opposite thing? This is when things get a little bit too subjective, when everyone is too discretionary. Trading should be more cut and dry. That's what we do in all of our classes, so that 2 students in my college will look at the same chart and know exactly if it's a buy or a sell, then they'll know exactly where to get in and all the different variables and options for the trade. Successful trading should also be consistent. This is what I talked about before. We don't preach and we don't in any way attest that you're going to become a millionaire by the end of the year, or that you'll have enough for that dream home that you wanted to buy. We don't believe in that. We're just trying to teach you sound fundamental things that have stood the test of time, that have a 2-step forward, 1-step back approach, okay? We want you to be trading 40 years down the road. That's our goal. We're not going to sit here and tell you that all of our methods work 10,000% over the last 3 years and that you'll never lose money. We don't believe in that. Successful trading should also be as simple as possible. Most of these methods I just shared with you have no more than 5 rules, and that's it. Many of them only use 1 indicator. Some of them don't even have indicators at all. That's how simple they are. So we're trying to keep things as simple as possible, because I have learned in my 4 decades that it's the simplest thing that makes you a consistent trader. Not the most convoluted indicators and not tons and tons of overcomplicated strategies. It's the simplest things that work the best. And then lastly, and most importantly, my mentors taught me that you should become a part of the process. Once again, this is why we don't believe in chat rooms. That's why we don't have trading rooms. That's why we don't have a signal service that we want you to just basically buy and sell blindly. We want you to become a part of the process. Too many traders I have seen over the years take themselves out of the game. They don't really want to take the time to learn. They don't want to take the time to become, a part of their trading plan. So they just say, well, listen, I'll pay the extra money to have some guy do it for me. I'll go to his site and find out what to buy or sell, or I'll just look at the news and see what they like, or watch TV. All right. That's basically no different from a brain surgeon saying, well, I've opened up the patient, but I'll let you tell me how to operate, because I really don't know how to do it. Or it's no different than a pilot saying, well, how would you land this? I really don't know how to land this plane here. Tell me what you think I should do. But this is the way traders trade. That sounds ridiculous, but traders do this on a daily basis. They're always asking me, Steve, what do you think of the market? Or Steve, what do you think of this stock? Or what do you think of this currency pair? And I say, I don't believe in that. You should know based off what we teach you, and then you should tell me what you think. And you should tell yourself, most importantly. So our goal is to make you a part of the process. You must learn to trade with a purpose. Most traders don't trade with a purpose. Their purpose is simply tell me what I should do. And that's not trading or becoming a part of the process. So here's what you get. You get our Elite Forex Trading College. It's 6 weeks of detailed instructions. Out of those 6 weeks, 5 are live classes. We're giving you 3 of our best in terms of consistency, most consistent strategies, 3 proprietary methods. We're going to teach you all the different variables for entries, all the different variables for exits and stops, because there isn't just one rule. These are not systems. We give you a lot of different ones so you can work and decide what works best for you. We provide you with educational signal alerts, but remember, these alerts are for education only so that you know what to look for. Ultimately, most of our students don't even rely on them after a few months or so. Weekly webinars, once again, these are live classes. We're going to go into something that I don't teach anyone other than people in the college. That's our Advanced Trade Management, ATM. Also, we're going to give you the PET D. This itself, in my opinion, is worth its weight in gold because it's our short-term trend identifier that is a translator. It's not an indicator, it's a translator that tells you simply what the market wants to do on a tick-by-tick basis. You're going to have full access to everything, all these rules and everything included. And I think most importantly, it comes with mentoring correspondence. You're going to get someone who's not just been trading for 10, 15 years, someone who's been trading for 40 years, 4 decades, using these things on a daily basis to mentor with you. I've seen and traded just about everything, so I know what works and I know how to help you become a more consistent trader. You're going to get instant access to all of this. And remember, a year from today, if you don't decide to take our college, I can almost guarantee you that you're going to wish you became a member of the course, because we've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years now. And so many times students ask, well, you know, I think I'll take it next year. I think I'll take this. And I always say, well, you know, you're doing yourself a favor the sooner you do it, because the price has gone up on a yearly basis. That's how powerful our courses and colleges are. And that's why we've taken a long time, because there are so many people that want to fill them. So it's in your best interest, in my opinion, to take this, because you're really going to regret it next year if you never did. You're going to see how all the trades you missed by coming to my webinars next year and saying, boy, well, I could have known that stuff, but I didn't learn it. So it'll probably cost you even more. So here's how to take advantage of this. The college course, all the 6 weeks and everything, is usually going for close to $5,000. We still have it discounted down to $39.95, but we realize that not everyone can come up with that lump sum, so we still have payment plans available. You can contact Pro Trader Strategies. They will put together a payment plan. So for a small deposit, they can customize a small deposit and a payment plan with you, so you can be in class in 2 days. You'll get all this information. As you can see here, it says classes start in a few weeks. That actually should have been changed to classes start in a few days, okay? So this is for a limited time only. In fact, it's only for 48 hours. You have to take advantage of this if you really want to take your trading to the next level. Remember, everything in the college can be transferred on to stocks, to futures, to commodities. So you're almost getting 4 or 5 different colleges in one. Here's how to take advantage of this great offer, which starts in 2 days. Contact my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies. They handle all of my scheduling, all of the discounts, all of the pricing. They can work together with a payment plan for you. So if you're interested in having a payment plan, I think the best thing to do is to call them directly at 310-598-6677. They have trading consultants manning the phones now, and they can put and devise a trading, or I should say, a payment plan with you right now, so that you can be up and running in a matter of days. Now, if you're set for one lump sum to get that discount, all you have to do is use the link that's below at the very bottom of the page here. Now, that's not live. You'd have to copy and paste that onto your browser. But if you look in the chat box, they have posted a live link. It's in the chat box at 10:43 a.m. So all you have to do is click that on. It will take you to the sign up page. You'll get a lot more information, and you can be up and running in our first class, which starts in about 48 hours. Okay? All right, I've talked enough. I'm going to look at your questions now, and I want to thank you for holding off. And let me just leave this information up here while I open up the question and answer page. And a lot of people are asking, how long are the classes? Okay, the classes are as long as you want them to be. Now, when we've done this in the past, our standard time, which we say is an hour, but that's just for reference. I have had classes that last 2, 3, sometimes even going on 4 hours the entire day, okay? So don't think that they're going to be a half an hour or so. I mean, if I get through everything in one of our courses, but usually on average, the minimum is an hour long. Okay, and these are live classes where you can ask me questions live, and I go over your specific questions. Okay. Another question we're getting here is when are the classes held? Well, we're going to start out on Friday, but since we have so many students, what we usually do is we have our initial class on Friday during market hours, roughly about 10 a.m. Pacific time, and then we take a vote because we've had students in China before, we've had students in Australia, students in Europe, students in the United States and in Alaska, and so what we want to do is get everyone together for the first class, take a vote and see what works best for them, see if they like that time as well, and then majority will rule. Whoever decides what the best time frame is, and if the most time, we'll put it out there, and then we can vote on it. Now, I will have classes prior to the market opening. So if I'm on the West Coast, if you need to do it at 3 or 4 a.m., I will have a class to meet your needs, for time zone you're in. If you need to have it on the weekend, I'll do it on the weekend. So I'm going to be your mentor, so we make it easy. Another question people are asking, are they recorded? Yes, they are. We record all of our classes. So if you aren't able to make it that week, or if none of the times help you, don't worry, you can access the recording. We provide you with a link. And remember, these are yours for life. So you can go over, let's say it's 6 months after the college, and you wanted just a brief refresher course. You can view the link to the recording for strategy number 4 anytime you'd like. It's yours. Everything in the college is yours now for life. It doesn't disintegrate after a year or after 6 months. And as I stated earlier, I am your mentor for life. You can always access me via email whenever you'd like to answer any questions. So this is a great, great offer. Steve, which class begins? Okay, on Friday, we are starting out with strategy number 1. That's the very first strategy I shared with you, and I'll give you the complete rules. Strategy number 1, just to reiterate, is our pullback strategy. So just to give you a little information, if you're not familiar with pullbacks, you look for, let's say you're looking for a pullback to the upside. Well, that means you have a strong trend underway, all right? The market is going up. Regardless of time frame, it could be an hourly chart, could be a tick chart, could be a monthly chart. It makes no difference. The rules apply to any time frame. Now, the market is going up, and as with most markets, you'll start to see a sell-off. This is where people get scared because they think, well, it's over. This is it. This is topping. We got to sell everything now. It looks like we're going to go way down lower. Maybe some news event came out, something happened, and this is where people get scared. But if all the requirements are met, which I will teach you on Friday, and we're still in the overall trend and all the requirements are met, we will generate a buy signal at a much lower level. So this is designed for traders who like to buy lower. Okay? Now let's say you're in a strong downtrend. You have the market going much lower. Let's say we're looking at a half-hour chart or a 4-hour chart, because we know currency pair traders like to trade 4-hour charts. So on a 4-hour time frame, the market is going strongly lower. All right? All of a sudden, you start to get a bounce where most people think, that's it, we've got to buy now. The sell-off is over. Well, we'll see if those really are true, and we'll see if the requirements are met or not. If a uptrend requirement is not met, then all we're doing is bouncing before we go much lower. And so we'll look to see if a signal to go short is generated in that bounce. That's what pullback trading does. You can go short and sell at a much higher level. So we're going to cover that in the first week, which is starting Friday in just a couple of days, okay? I think I've answered just about most of the questions presented. In closing here, I want to say, remember, once again, I've had so many students in hindsight join our college a year or two later and say, gosh, Steve, I wish I would have joined this earlier, because not only has the price gone up, but I could have been using this to generate consistency in my trading like 2 years ago. And why did I wait so long? And I always say the same thing when our college begins. I know, I don't understand why you waited. But if it's a monetary thing, we totally understand that. That's why we have payment plans for you. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. Just call them at the number right here. They will put together, fit to meet your needs, a payment plan. So for a small deposit, you can be up and running and in a live class with me in just 2 days, okay? But this is it. Once we start, that's it. So you have to act now. So here's the information. If you're very strongly considering doing this, the live link is in the chat box on the far right. Just simply click that on. But I would suggest contacting Pro Trader Strategies. Call 310-598-6677 and they can answer any question you have if you still have more questions, or if you want to put together a payment plan. Okay? We're just about at the end of time now. I want to thank you all for joining today. I really hope you got something out of this, and most especially, I look forward to mentoring and teaching all of you how to trade and take your Forex trading and all of your types of trading to the next level in our new Elite Forex College, which starts in 48 hours. All right, I hope to see you all there. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.